The Crab Droid MOC that I just released actually wasn't my first Crab Droid model. I made a different Crab Droid MOC 8 years earlier on this channel, just about, and posted a video kind of showing my MOC and doing a how to build tutorial, sort of in the classic old school Bionicle how to build vein, as was a bit more popular, even though it was dwindling and waning on YouTube at that point. And really, I had that MOC for many years and I used it in a handful of things. But one of the things that really bothered me about it, which of course I only found out after making the video and doing all of that, was that I would come back to the MOC and it would be on my shelf, through the years, whether it would be to dust everything off or to take it and put it in a display or just fiddle with it or whatever it was. And as the years went on, more and more often, I would come back to that MOC on my shelf and find just the central body surrounded by a pile of legs that had become detached from the MOC, just simply because the modified plates with clips that I'd used to connect the legs and the body just couldn't hold up under the weight of the MOC for whatever reason. And as that continued, the clips on those pieces just became more and more loose to the point that eventually they couldn't even hold on anymore. And just really through both of those problems, I knew that it was time for me to update and just completely rework my Crab Droid MOC if I was interested in having one. So when it came to this process, I sort of approached it by doing an audit of sorts. I took my original MOC and sort of looked at it, and I held it up in one of my hands, and metaphorically speaking, I held up the source material in my other hand, looking at both the Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars animated versions of the Crab Droid. And sort of my goal with this process was to look at my original MOC and sort of put different design aspects of it into one of three categories: either things that worked well, things that definitely have to change, or things that it would be nice to change to be more faithful to the source material and more structurally sound. And really, when it comes to those categories, I think the things that really had to change the most were just the legs being slender and not really being structurally viable. Just a very basic design that was not faithful to the bulkiness that we see in the source material at all. Really that, and then sort of the shaping of the main body, were the two things that most were in the definitely need to change category, which are very big things, but nevertheless, moving towards the would be nice to change category, I think the main thing in here were the blaster cannons on the underside of the Crab Droid's body, as well as sort of those sensors. I liked the transparent neon orange studs and really the effect that had for bringing the sensors out of the Crab Droid, but I didn't quite like the positioning. And looking at the source material, I sort of had the slope going in the wrong direction in my original model. And really, in terms of the things that I liked and that went well with the original model, it was really just the basic structure in the body was pretty solid, as well as just the colors that I used, with the dark gray being more so for the mechanical connections between the legs and the body, and then as well as just the reddish brown being a good color for the source material and representing the droid. So I sort of took all these things together, and then knowing sort of the ways that the MOC needed to be changed, I went back to the drawing board, open Bricklink Studio, and just through that, and then also fiddling around with physical pieces to try to find new techniques or new ways to approach parts of the model that I wasn't quite happy with. I went through a handful of iterations and eventually came up with the first fully polished design, and then I went and took that model and then built it